friend. Sit back and relax. You're listening to the Wealth Tech Today podcast. And I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, founder of Ezra Group Consulting. And this podcast features interviews, news, and analysis on the trends and best practices all around wealth management technology. And drumroll, please, welcome to episode 300. Insert applause at that spot. I can't believe we've hit this milestone. The show all started back in February 2019. We've been doing this for a long time. Just a couple of quick statistics that I drummed up from the system about the podcast. We have had over 131,000 downloads. Our website shows total show listens. I'm assuming that's downloads. 131,000 something. That's a lot of listens. Thanks everyone for listening. The average transcript length, 6,764 words. Everybody's talking quite a bit. So 300 episodes over the last 6 years. I'm going to just run through some of the top guests we had who made the most appearances on the podcast. Tied with 3 are April Rudin, head of the Rudin Group, fantastic marketing firm in wealth management and asset management. Bill Capuzzi with 3, the CEO of Apex Wealth Tech, FinTech. Adam Holt, CEO of Asset Map. He's also got 3. And Lex Sokolin, 3, co-founder of Generative Ventures VC Fund, former COO at Advisor Engine. And then with 2 appearances on the program, we have Kevin Lozier from Holistiplan, Julie Littlechild from Absolute Engagement, Steve Lokshin, who was just on last week, episode 299, co-founder of Vanilla, Sean Brown with 2, CEO White Charts, Kristen Schmidt, extraordinary RIA tech and ops consultant with 2. And finally, my friend Anand Sheth, founder and CEO of Pulse 360 with 2 appearances. So there you go. There's some quick stats. I've got a lot more stats. I'm going to post them in the LinkedIn post, and you can check them out online. But without any further ado, I want to talk about our guest for episode 300. It is someone who needs absolutely no introduction, but I'm going to do it when we start the intro of the episode anyway. It is industry guru, my friend, Michael Kitces. We had quite the conversation. I really appreciate Michael coming on and talking. It's almost 70 minutes long, just the interview part, not including all my rambling here and then the outro bit. So this is gonna be a long episode. Hope you can stick all the way through. We're not up to Joe Rogan lengths yet, but maybe this is a trend. Maybe you want to hear longer episodes. Please let me know. We spoke about the Kitces Ezra Group partnership. Michael and I have been partners on different things since 2019, including the AdvisorTech Map, and other consulting work and other things. So we talked about that a little bit. And Michael was very excited to talk about the 2025 Kitces Technology Research Survey that is coming out in September, I believe. He shared a lot of great information, some insights from that. We talked about some of the challenges that advisors are having and RIAs are having with technology implementations. Some of the market dynamics for AdvisorTech, where Michael sees the industry going in the future. And of course, no podcast would be complete without talking about AI. And AI, we talked about AI adoption in wealth management. And speaking of AI, what is your firm's AI strategy? Do you even have one? If not, you're just flying blind into a storm of changes coming for our industry. Here at Ezra Group, we can help wealth management firms turn their AI chaos into a competitive advantage. Our tech stack and AI strategy solutions are built specifically for advisory businesses, integrating custodial feeds, portfolio management systems, CRM, AI tools into a single scalable source of truth. If you want to free your firm for exponential growth, you need to run, not walk to our website, ezragroup.com, and click the golden Contact Us button on the homepage. Whether you're building or evaluating your first AI-powered solution or struggling with a bloated tech stack that's become a liability, the experienced team at Ezra Group will help you design, optimize, and future-proof your infrastructure. We know what works and what doesn't. Visit ezragroup.com and learn more about our free strategy calls available for you. All right, now a couple quick housekeeping chores. We subscribe to this podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, yada, yada, yada. Check out our sponsor, the Invest in Others Charitable Foundation at investinothers.org. And if you are a software vendor in our space, go to our vendor portal for integrations, ezragroup.com/register, and register your product with our database so we can have the latest data for our Wealth Tech integration score for your product. All right, now let's get this thing off. All right. My current guest needs no introduction. Please welcome industry guru, and my good friend Michael Kitces. Michael, welcome to the program.
Hello, Craig. Appreciate the opportunity to join you. Long time listener, first time guest.
It's not your first
We
time guest. That's not true. You've been on a couple of times.
it's been
But
it's been a while. No, I'm not trying to give you a hard time. Just I mean, like the funny thing for folks that don't know the broader context, I mean, like Craig and I are talking every month when we're doing like updates to the AdvisorTech Map and the directory and all the things we put out. It's like we talk all the time. We just don't usually do it with a recording on.
exactly. Yeah, and I wanted to talk about this. So this is our 300th episode. Thank you for being our 300th
Congratulations for the
guest.
milestone.
Thank you. I'm still way behind you with like 450 episodes.
Yes, we are advisor success, financial advisor success. We'll cross 500
Hmm.
next year and 10 million downloads, which is just like a
Congratulations on that.
mind-blowing number to me. That's a lot of people hitting the button to
A
listen.
lot. And then if you add the Keatsis and Carl, 168 or something, 170 episodes, that's
Yes.
500. That's six. Already at 650 episodes.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
So I like talking about the industry, you could say. I like talking shop.
I could say that. Well, so do I. Yeah, as you mentioned. So you and I have been partnering on the map for at least
Yeah.
6 years,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
7 years, right? And then we also partner on consulting.
Yes.
Um, so I just want to talk about that a little bit. So the map came about that I was a big fan of the map,
Yeah.
but I thought there was some things that needed to be fixed. There was some mistakes in the map, and I sent you this
Yeah.
really long email, like Michael, there's all this problems with the map that have been really bugging me. And you
Yeah.
said, well, since you have all this good ideas, why don't you come and help me do it?
It's because the first almost 15 years of my career, I was very heavily immersed in membership associations and volunteering and financial planning association in particular. And so I learned the association strategy, which is anytime someone raises their hand and says, like, I really think you're doing something wrong and I have a lot of passion around this issue, the good response always is, well, then please come help us make it better. We would love to. Like, let's
Yeah.
learn. You clearly have passion and energy. Like,
Mhm.
and I mean, truly help us make it better. So yeah, I'm now always attuned to, oh, you have a lot of energy about something we're doing wrong and think we could do it better. Like I'm not defensive. I'm like, please come help us make it better. Come
Yeah.
help us make it better.
And I think the map has gotten a lot better. It's certainly
Yeah.
it was definitely an industry go-to resource, but I think now it's even more so.
Yeah, I mean it's been interesting how it's changed. I mean like how it's changed in the marketplace. I mean my original vision for this, whatever it was like 7 or 8 years ago when I was starting to sketch it out was simply like, look, there's all this advisor technology out there. Um, Everybody's doing lots of different things now because companies were that was that point that people in the mid 20 teens, firms were really starting to be like, we don't just do this, we do this and that and that and that and this other thing. And like the feedback and the challenges I was hearing in tech consulting I was doing at the time was just like we can't figure out which tech to pick. We can't figure out who really does what. Like who does that because that's like really what they're good at, and who does it
Mhm.
because it's like the 11th feature they just sort of arbitrarily added in and checked the box on the list, but they're not serious about it. And like we don't even know all the companies to choose from because frankly, a lot of advisor tech companies are not the most capitalized for marketing spend purposes. So just
Mhm.
like they fly under the radar screen. And so the idea in my head was the map was and calling it a map, it was supposed to be a metaphor for a navigational map.
Mhm.
Like if you're trying to navigate the choices, we'll give you a map of the countries, the categories, the spaces, so you can figure out where to travel to. Oh, you're looking for CRM. Here's the box with the CRM providers. We'll do our best job to catalog all the CRM providers so you can discover something you didn't even know. And we'll constrain the map a little. And this is still where we get some kind of controversy with a couple of vendors out there. We'll put the vendor into its primary category. The like if you're not at least going to buy them for this, don't bother. Right. So we get questions like, hey, eMoney's got some cool marketing capabilities. Why isn't it in the marketing category? So I'm like, it's in the financial planning category. It's like, you don't buy eMoney for marketing if you're not using it for financial planning.
Mhm.
You're always going to start with it front. Now, once you use it for financial planning, there's all these other cool things that it can do. Many platforms do that. Love the additional features. But the whole goal of the map was like, what's the primary place that this company lives? So that you definitely don't want this if you're not at least buying them for this core capability that you're going to pay them for. And it would hopefully just make it easier for advisors to navigate the choices. And that was back when we launched it and we had, I don't know, 15 categories and 150 to 200 vendors.
Hmm.
Now the space is proliferated and we're cresting 500 providers and there's 20 something categories. And I will admit the map is more now like a social commentary about how crowded the advisor tech space is than a literal navigational aid, which is why we rolled out the advisor tech directory at fintech.kitces.com, just so that it would be a little bit more searchable because the logos started getting a little small on that map. They're still clickable. You can click on anyone and go right to the vendor, but
Hmm.
the map's gotten crowded, and now I find, I mean, there are people who use it as a navigational aid, and there are folks that are using it as like a slide in a PowerPoint deck about
Hmm.
the crowded, confusing choices that advisors face in technology. As with anything entrepreneurial, you create it with one intention, then you put it out in the world, and then the world tells you what it's going to actually do with the thing that you
Yes,
created.
that's true. Yeah, that's the case with software, and
Mm-hmm.
that's also the case with these kind of resources. But when I do you do way more speaking gigs than I do, but when I do speaking gigs, one of the things I like to show is the progress of the map,
Yeah.
how it started in 2017, and then where it is now. But then people say, "Oh, there's so many logos." But if you compare it to other maps and other categories like MarTech, marketing technology, they
Oh
have the
yeah.
MarTech 10,000. There's literally 10,000 logos on this page. And I show that like, go, it's not so bad. 600 isn't so bad.
But I mean, I will say in that regard, because right, we've heard the dialogue for a few years now. There's quote too many logos. It is inevitable that a bunch of these are going to fail and go out of business, and the map's going to shrink, and there's going to be consolidation. And I will say, like having reflected and followed the space so long, like I really still do think the map is going to be 50 to 100% more crowded in the next 5 years. Like I don't think it's getting thinner. I think it's getting heavier. And there's kind of two reasons for that. On the consolidation side, if you look at the reality, so in a lot of industries, technology gets created because someone sees an opportunity, goes and raises venture capital, puts a bunch of money into the opportunity, gives it their best shot. If it works, it's a big company. And if it fails, it doesn't have enough financial capital to survive once the venture funding stops because it's not going to do another round if it's not hitting its numbers. And then it gets sold or consolidated or goes away. Almost all technology in advisor tech is not created that way. A couple of categories get heavy venture funding. Robo got it 7 or 8 years ago in the Robo for Advisors movement. AI Note Takers has it right now. So it shows up occasionally in categories. But almost all advisor technology gets built because an advisor has a problem, can't find a solution, makes their own solution. Their friends hear about the solution. They sell the software to their friends. And now they have a software company on the side
Mhm.
that may or may not grow to a sizable thing. And if you look at the history, like that's where we got Redtail, iRebal, Orion, Tamarack, TRX. Like all of these major industry technology pillars that we use today were solutions created by advisors, often as an extension of their advisory firm, and then they spun off a software company on the side. And the reason why that's significant is these are not venture funded things that have to hit certain numbers or they go away because they run out of money. These are things funded by advisors off of the cash flow of their advisory practice in most circumstances, which means A, they're really lean. A lot of these companies literally only need a few hundred users at the most to break even financially. And in most cases, the advisor built it first for themselves and is using it for themselves, which means even if it's losing money, it can still make financial sense for them to keep it because it's just core technology for their own firm.
Mhm.
So there's no impetus for most advisor tech to ever shut down and get consolidated in the way that plays out in natural VC cycles. which means most of the companies you see on the map, I mean, I haven't directly tried to quantify it, but based on our market share data from our tech study, like probably 2/3 of the map are companies that have somewhere between 200,000 and $1 million of annual revenue and are not particularly growing in any material way. I mean, maybe they're getting 5, 10, 15% incremental growth because word of mouth is getting out there slowly. But relative to like an early stage
Mhm.
tech company, that's kind of anemic growth for
Mhm.
it becoming an investment premise. But they have no reason to shut down. So on the one hand, I just like there's very little pressure for the map to experience much attrition because these companies have no reason to shut down. And on the other end, for anybody that is paying attention to anything that's happening in the intersection of coding and artificial intelligence, tech that you used to have to hire 2 or 3 developers and a product person to spend 3 to 6 months prototyping, you could like vibe code an MVP over a weekend if you're good with the tech now. And so the ability to bring new tech to market has gotten so drastically changed in the past 2 years that I just look, I'm like, so let me get this straight. Almost no one ever has a reason to shut these things down. And we just had one of the greatest technological advances in humankind to make it easier to build and launch new tech from scratch. I'm like, guess what's going to happen? Every advisor and their brother that has any inclination towards trying out vibe coding is going to end out making an app for their company, trying to sell it to their friends. We'll see how many of them are financially successful. I don't know that there's going to be a lot more mega advisor tech companies because there's only so much room in the addressable market in total. But if I had to bet, like we're going to see a 50+% increase in the number of logos on the map in the next 5 years because it is never been easier to MVP and prototype something and try to bring a new product to market. And if you get any level of traction as an advisor homegrown solution, you can financially support it. And heck, with AI driven coding, like you can financially support it for less. You don't need 2 developers to keep it alive. You need like one dev shop that you're paying 5 hours a week to keep it alive. So the break even cost now isn't a couple hundred advisors; it's a couple dozen
Mhm.
advisors.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's that low, but yeah, it's I see the same thing that the break even point is so low that they just hang on with a couple hundred clients for
Yeah.
years and years, and you don't really hear about them. They have some churn, right? There's clearly some churn going on, but it's not
Oh
enough
yeah.
to put them out. And if they still want to get, they still see it's their baby, right? In some cases,
Yeah.
they don't want to shut it
Well,
down.
Well, I mean, look, if you're an advisory firm that grows clients at 5 to 10% organic growth rate of client count, which is still where most firms are, revenue may grow 10 to 20 because they're getting market lift, but most firms are only growing their client count by mid single digits,
Mhm.
maybe high single digits if they're doing well. So when you launch a side tech company that's growing 10 or 15% a year, that feels amazing in user growth when you're an advisor. If you come from a tech background, that is not great growth in early stage startup. But if you're coming from an advisor background, like these are good numbers. So you feel fine with them. You keep
Yeah,
funding it and it's solving a problem in your practice anyway. So you need the tech. And at that point, any users who give me money just defrays the cost of my own tech that I'm using for
Mhm.
myself. So why would I not keep it running and keep taking the money and keep serving the other advisors who want the thing I also built for myself in the first place?
Yeah. I did an article for I think Investor Business Daily where they asked, "What is it about advisors starting software companies? What do you
Mm-hmm.
think about that?" And the answer was that they don't know what they're doing. They don't understand the software
Yep.
business. So they're creating a company, but it's never going to go anywhere because they don't understand
Oh,
product. They don't understand product. They don't understand the marketing. They don't
product,
understand.
marketing, distribution, how
Mhm.
to actually get it out there. I mean, yes, fully agree. That's why most of these companies are a couple hundred users and a couple $100,000 of revenue, give or
Mhm.
take a little. Again, like it's enough to be break even, which is why they don't go away. They're growing incrementally by just literal word of mouth from their users and like the personal network of the advisor. So it's getting some incremental growth, but they're not growing to be the next company that has tens of thousands of advisors and serving a marketplace like an Orion or a Money Guide or one of those that have gone really, really big.
And the other issue, this leads into the next segment of the podcast, which is consulting, is that these firms then come to us,
Yes.
right? uh, they came to us separately when we both had our separate. Now we've combined, right? So we now they
Yes.
come to us together and say we need help. We're not growing. What do we do? How do we increase our revenue? How do we increase our
Yep.
client base? How do we make it stickier? And so a lot of times when we're working with clients, I mean, your experience is probably similar. We have to train them on what a product roadmap is. They don't understand. They don't see that as a visionary tool. It's always been a punch list. Whatever their clients are asking for, they're just building it,
Right.
rather than thinking, where do I want this product to go and what should it be?
Yeah, I find in the advisor context in particular, when so much of our tech is, I call these the homegrowns, right? Just like I made it at home in my basement and turned out it was useful to some other people. The problem I find that happens with most homegrown advisor tech is that we overbuild to our firm and our needs and our issues, and we overestimate how similar other advisory firms are
Mm.
to us. And it turns out we're not as similar as we think. We all kind of do financial planning, investment management for clients and provide them ongoing service and try to give them great service that we get referrals. Like the core is the same, but when you really get into the system and process and how we execute, how business is done, advisory firms are much more varied at the ground level about the actual processes and the way that we deliver the service and the preferences of the advisor and how they go about doing it. And so I find almost every advisor tech that gets built, if they built it to any particular level, they've overbuilt it for themselves, and so they have trouble selling it to others because they did too much for them that others don't want, or just from an engineering architecture end, they hard coded together things that really needed to be more modular. And the answer is like, you need to start unbundling this. Do you even have the infrastructure capability to unbundle
Mhm.
these services? Like, cool, you built seven things. I think advisors would really want to buy one of them, but
Mhm.
they already do the other six in some other software that they're not going to kick to the curb to join you. And right or wrong, like advisors absolutely hate buying software that has seven features when they're only going to use one and have the other six not used.
Mhm.
Because all they can see is I'm not using 80% of the product. I feel like I shouldn't be paying as much as I am. Uh, and so we tend to bundle everything in, and then advisors resent all the things they're not using in the bundle, and we get stuck in a circular flow. So yes, I see a lot of overbuilt to the specifications of the firm. So how do we actually decompartmentalize this into the particular things that other advisors want, that quote all advisors want, that's saleable to market? How do we actually bring that to the marketplace? I know you and I both get a lot
Mhm.
of like kind of go to market strategy
Mhm.
conversations. Which market segments are we going to go after? How do we price it appropriately? What really is my competitive landscape? So just there's a lot there, and I mean indirectly, I find that's where some folks realize like maybe this whole I'm going to have a software company on the side of my advisory firm is not quite as glamorous as I thought. This is not a like field of dreams. If you build it, they will come.
Mhm.
But then every now and then someone does and figures out how to make that transition again, right? Like iRebal, TRX,
How
Redtail,
about a Holista plan?
Orion, eMoney, Holista Plan. I mean, these are all things that came from advisors who had problems and couldn't find solutions. Like you can do it, but yes, if you haven't run a software company before and built product and brought it to market before, it's more of a different skill set
Mhm.
sometimes than you realize, even when you've been a very successful advisory firm owner running an advisory business.
Mhm.
And then when you're coming from the VC end, because now we do see more of that, now you just have all the opposite problems. Like I'm well funded, I know how to build product. I'm looking for problems that I can
Mhm.
solve. And
Yes.
so it is interesting to me just from the consulting line for advisors who spend a lot of time talking about product and roadmap and go to market strategy and segments to pursue and competitive landscape. And in the VC funded end, it's a lot of just understanding the advisor marketplace and the segments, right? A lot of folks just, their deck says there's 300,000 financial advisors or there's 600,000 people, including advisors and
Mhm.
insurance agents, because it makes the addressable market look really cool in a VC deck. And I'm like, yeah, that's like 11 different pockets of fragmented advisors that are 20 to 50,000 each. Like
Mhm.
it's not a 3 to 600,000 user monolith. It's a whole bunch of little fragmented domains that each have their own peculiarities and nuances you have to understand if you're going to distribute to them.
I've been consulting for 27 years. I remember when I first started, it was during the tech bubble of the 99 tech bubble, right?
Yeah.
And you started getting all these companies coming out with money. There was definitely different kind of VC funding back then, but they were starting up, and they were saying things like you just mentioned. If I can only the insurance market's $1 trillion. If we only get
Yeah.
1%, we'll be
Uh-huh.
billionaires. You got to
Uh-huh.
invest in this. Like, do you understand? You don't work it that way. You don't just say, "Well, give me a
Yeah.
1% of a market." How are you going to build it up from the bottom? Is I
Yeah.
want to see how you're going to sell this, and you have no
Yeah.
plan to sell this, and you have no value added. Why is anybody going to buy this product? You can't just cherry pick a big market and say we'll take X% of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I look at our space, right? Merrill Lynch is a multi-trillion-dollar global financial services firm that's been around for 100 years. If you look at their advisor headcount relative to the total, they have 4% market share.
Hmm.
100 years
Hmm.
and trillions of dollars of global financial services,
Hmm.
4% market share. So, like, getting to one is a lot harder than you realize.
Exactly. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the difference between product and services. And as a consultant, my job is to say, yes, you want something? Yes, of course we can do that. We're consultants. We can do
Yeah.
almost anything within
Yep.
our wheelhouse, or we're only in the wealth management space. As long as you're in wealth management, I'm going to say yes to you. But when you're a product company, what we have to train them is you need to learn to say no.
Yeah.
Your answer for everything should be no. But what if they're paying me? No. Well, why? But they're paying me to build this new feature. No. Why? We just spent all this time with a product roadmap. Here's your next 18 months. All these people in this room, we built it, we designed it. Here's where we're going. Now a client's going to come in with some money and you're going to throw that out the window?
Yep.
Why would you do that? You've got to say no to people. Here's what our product is. Here's what our vision is. Here's where we're going with it. If you're on board, great. If you're not, we're not changing. And it's very hard for advisors
Oh
who
yeah.
start the companies to do that.
Yeah, I mean we lived that firsthand as we were building advice pay, and I mean I can tell you like in internal process for us, step one is strategic plan about the particular market segments that we want to go after, right? Do we want to be deeper in enterprise? Do we want to be deeper in small to mid RIA? Do we want BD enterprises versus RIA enterprise? Or it's like what's the market segment? What's the capabilities that we need? And that populates out a fairly concrete 12 to 18 month roadmap and a slightly fuzzier 18 to 36 month roadmap because you get in there and then you find out you need to build something slightly different once you're going. But there's it's a pretty solid 12 to 18 month roadmap and then an awareness of the intended roadmap over the next 3 years. And then as opportunities come to us that say they want to build something, they want something custom. In essence, we look and say, did you ask for something that's already on our roadmap? If you have, we will do a statement of work to accelerate things that were on our roadmap. We knew we wanted to go this direction strategically, but if you can get us there faster and you want the thing faster, everybody has mutual benefit here. We'll go ahead and take a statement of work and additional dollars to build an additional feature capability that you need because it's part of what we wanted on the roadmap. And if it's not something that's on the roadmap, the answer is no.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we start losing focus of the core thing that we're trying to build that actually moves us towards the segment that we want to work with. Right? I mean, almost by definition, if your roadmap and your process is good, your core customers are usually not asking for a ton of new things
Yeah.
because your product serves their
Yes.
their core needs. You've got a list of incrementals, right? So we roadmap out. If you're getting requests that are materially different than what you've currently got, I'm overgeneralizing a little, but almost by definition, like it's probably someone that's not in the core market you're actually going after.
Mhm.
So now the
Yeah.
question becomes, do you really want to like split your focus and go after a different segment of the market with all the challenge, distribution and product challenges that come with that? Are you really resourced enough to fight a war on two fronts?
Mhm.
Or as you know, Craig, like, or is the answer
Mhm.
is No, thank you so much for your interest, but you're not really in the core segment that we're trying to go after right
Mm.
now. We can't serve everyone at once in this early stage.
Yeah, I want to move to the next segment to talk about the Kitces research. But yeah, but the last comment I'll make on that is that it's teaching our vendor clients um, that just as important to know who your clients aren't as who they are,
Yes.
right? And it's
Yes.
and they've never thought about that.
Financial
Who are
advisors. Everyone is a financial advisor, right,
everyone?
Craig?
Right? Yes, it's
Yeah.
like it goes back to that old joke. Meg Carpenter had a video at the Risk Class conference. Was like, we're financial advisors. We're very customized. We serve retirees and widows and business owners and young people and old people and divorced people and married people. Like you can't serve everybody, then you're serving nobody.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, good. So let's move on from that. All right, this is like a double podcast. Let's jump into the latest 2025 Kitces Advisor Tech Survey. Drum roll, please.
Yes.
What do you got for me?
Drum roll. So I guess just some context for folks who maybe don't know our platform as well. So we do a series of 4 research studies in the financial advisor space. We do one every 6 months on a rotating basis. So it takes us 2 years to get through a series of 4 studies. We do one on advisor productivity, we do one on advisor marketing, we do one on advisor well-being, and then the last we do is on advisor technology. And so we spent the first half of this year doing our first half of 2025 doing our advisor tech study that is now queuing up. We're technically laying out the report at the time we're recording this. It will be out by the time people hear this. So kitces.com/technology, and you get the study itself. So the main focus of the study is understanding who's actually using what in the advisor tech landscape. So understanding market share and advisor satisfaction, and how much they value the tech and how important they think the categories are across the landscape. We draw on this from our map, so we survey about well over 500 companies across 40 something categories in total. So a lot of detail around it, and ours is a little bit unique from some of the other studies out there because we have a very controlled sampling methodology about how we draw advisors in. So there are no open survey links. So advisors can't get out there and share the survey links, and more importantly, vendors can't share the survey
Any
links.
vendors can't pump all their clients to fill out the
Correct.
survey?
Vendors can't send their clients out to participate, nor can they try to like get in and carpet bomb competing vendors by leaving a bunch of fake reviews that doesn't apply to that of not actual users, which just other folks deal with and try to screen out. But it's very difficult if you get a large sample to actually spot all the people that are doing specious things. So we use a very different kind of sampling methodology. We have a nearly 70,000 advisor list from our existing kitces.com platform. So we start with that list. We've already screened it for who's advisors. We control the sampling off of that list and constrain it to the advisors who are there. They can only take it once. They can't share the link because all the links are unique to people. We control it through a login. That's part of our member section authentication process. So we do a lot to ensure that, just as I think of it, we're really getting a healthy representative sampling of the advisor marketplace, or I should really say of the independent advisor marketplace. We do primarily look at folks at independent RIAs and independent broker dealers because, to me, just they're the folks where the advisor is the buyer, is the decision maker, is the check writer, which means they vote with their feet very effectively. I find the stuff that grows with the independents tends to be the things that eventually become successful at enterprise. The stuff that the independents are leaving is the stuff that the enterprises start leaving a few years later because eventually they get the feedback from their advisors as well. So we aim heavily independent, simply because I find it gives us a really good understanding of the trends of what's really on the rise and not on the rise in advisor tech. And so that's the study that we do. Again, we do these on 2-year cycles. So our last one was 2023, And now this one is 2025 that we're releasing with not only latest data around just market share and satisfaction and the like, but also a lot of trend analysis that we do around kind of broader industry trends. So, advisor interest in AI, the ongoing debate of all-in-one versus best in class. We are at our core a bunch of research and stats nerds, so we also do a lot of, let's say, like nerdy statistical stuff to try to tease apart what really are the drivers of outcomes. So we look at things like what really impacts productivity advisory firms, like what kind of tech decisions impact productivity, revenue per advisor, revenue per employee, those kinds of numbers, as well as what really drives advisor satisfaction. Because the reality is, the advisor landscape, just there's a lot of things that overlap if you don't know how to do the statistical analysis to tease them apart. It's things like, well, CFPs tend to be slightly happier with their tech. It's like, well, CFPs really happy with their tech? No, it's that CFPs are more likely to be in RIAs, and RIAs tend to be a little bit happier with their tech because they have more autonomy over their tech decisions. So it's not actually that CFPs like their tech a little bit more. It's that RIA autonomy is associated with a little bit higher satisfaction with tech because they have more choice flexibility. So we do the statistical analyses that are necessary to try to tease apart which is what are actual factors that drive advisor satisfaction, advisor productivity, and which are secondary factors that are really just a subset of something else. Like it's not the fact that you're a CFP, it's the fact that you're at an RIA.
Mm. Yeah, it's one of the things I do like about the Kitces survey is the statistical methodology, and I see so many other ones out there, put out by other organizations or by media, and it's just a random selection. Every year you get a different number of participants, and you
Yep.
sometimes get wildly different results. Like, I'm sorry, but Redtail's market share didn't go from 33% to 12%. It just didn't
Yeah.
happen, right? There's something
Yes. Yeah.
wrong.
I'm pretty sure if Redtail lost, 20,000 users in the span of the past year, we probably would have heard about it somewhere else.
Right. So maybe
Yes.
you should have thought about that before you put the survey out that this is not right.
Yeah.
But they just put
Yeah.
it out.
And what we find, I mean, just apropos to the reality of the marketplace, like most vendor market shares change by small single digits, like one to three, one to
Mm.
three percentage points, which is just the reality that most advisors are using anywhere between about 12 to 20 different software systems, and most advisors change one piece of tech a year. I mean, that's it. It's kind of stressful to change more than one. Maybe you can do two if they're like really small tangential things. But this is one of the things we actually
Mhm.
measure in our study is the switch rate of advisors, how often they're switching software by various software categories. And most advisor tech categories have a switch rate of 4 to 8%, which
Mm.
means the average advisor is swaps out tech somewhere between every like 12 and 20 years because not coincidentally, they have about 12 to 20 pieces of tech, which means we just find like basically most advisory firms change one piece of tech a year. And if you have that much stuff in your stack, most things are going to be around for a decade.
Yeah.
So, right, it's important on the one hand because it means, as we often have to counsel in the consulting frame, companies that are coming in, like, be careful not to be too rosy optimistic about how quick you can grow with your venture funded startup in the advisor tech space because advisors just don't change fast. Like, this isn't consumer tech where if you come up with the next hot thing, like you can get 50% market share in
Mhm.
18 months, like WhatsApp did
Yeah.
when they like took a sledgehammer to text messaging.
Well, WhatsApp was free.
Well, yeah, that helps too. But advisors just don't switch very often because it's a lot to move data, it's a lot to learn new systems, it's a lot to build new processes, it's a lot to retrain your staff, and frankly, not all advisory firms even do those parts terribly well,
Mm.
which then makes them a little bit more gun shy to change tech because they may have had some bad experiences around it. So just most market share doesn't move more than a couple percentage points in a year.
Sure.
So big movers in our study when we do it every other year pick up 3 to 5% of aggregate advisor market share over a 2-year cycle. Now,
Yeah.
relative to total denominator of independent advisors, you're still talking about thousands and thousands of users. Like
Mm.
there's real money in motion, there's real revenue in motion. You can build a very financially successful software company from this. But there is kind of an interesting level of inertia that, on the one hand, is why when I see some studies that say, such and such company lost 15% market share in the past year, I'm like, they didn't lose 15% market share. They just didn't promote the study this year to their users.
Or you haven't
And
checked in a couple of years, and that's why it
yeah,
looks like
or
50%.
this other company, like they didn't gain 10% market share in a year. They probably just put a financial incentive out there to get all their users to take the survey.
Mm.
Uh, and then just it
Yeah.
throws off the market share numbers. Ironically, you find advisor satisfaction actually tends to be pretty consistent across most of the industry studies. It's the market share and the trend data I find that can get thrown off if you don't have a good sampling methodology, and then just some of the basically some of the attribution analysis, right? Like advisors who do blank are more successful because we find a lot of that. It's the old, for anybody from the statistics realm. It's correlation doesn't prove causation. There's a lot of that happens in our space, right? It's things like advisors with a marketing plan grow faster, therefore everybody should make a marketing plan. It's like, or advisors who are really good at marketing also make marketing plans to
Mhm.
execute their really good marketing strategies. And it's not because you made a plan, it's
Mhm.
because you happen to be like a marketing savant in the first place. Because if
Well,
you
yeah,
were really bad at marketing and you make a marketing plan, you just make a bad marketing plan, and it
right.
it still doesn't work. Like
Or
it's not
advisory.
the marketing plan. It's
Yes.
your skill set and capability around marketing
Yes.
that might be driving it.
Or RIAs that spend more on tech grow faster than those that don't. Well, maybe firms that are growing faster need more tech, or
And
firms that,
reinvest more, correct, and reinvest more rapidly because they're trying to deal with scale.
right.
So yeah, so a lot of the statistical work that we do, right, for the nerds, like multivariate regression analyses and factor analyses and the like we're trying to get to the actual unique things that appear to be driving outcomes and tease apart all of the stuff like are you growing faster because you spend more on tech, or are you spending more on tech because you grow faster, or are you growing faster and spending more in tech because you're really good at working with high dollar clients that give you so much free cash flow that you just throw money at marketing and tech?
Mhm. Right. Can be any of those things. One of the things we find, I haven't done a survey on our client base, but my gut feeling is more than half of the RAs that come to us saying, I don't want this tech. I want you to switch it out. There's nothing wrong with the technology, right? It's
It's
just
a it's a training problem. It's a
it's a
training and process
they
problem.
weren't trained properly. It wasn't implemented properly. They didn't configure it properly. They're not using it properly. They don't have the
Mhm.
workflows. Their business isn't aligned with that
Correct.
software. They just bought it, threw it out there, got a week of training, and then never really looked at it again. And I tell them, look, I'll make more money converting you, but you won't be
Yeah.
happy.
Oh yeah,
Right?
yeah. I love conversion project,
Right.
marketplace,
Huge.
landscape analysis.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, these are great.
Right.
Right. In our consulting world, these are great consulting gigs.
Right. But if I convert you to this new software, you're not going to be happy because you still have the same business problems you had
Uh-huh.
before. We have to fix your business
Uh-huh.
problems, how you're doing prospecting or
Yes.
lead gen or whatever, or portfolio management, whatever we're fixing. That has to be fixed first. Then you'll see the software just works better because most software, as we've seen in any category, 85% of the features are all exactly the same.
Yes. And 20% of the features are actually used.
Yes. So
Yeah.
switching to another vendor because you think it's better, it's
Yes.
just you don't understand that that there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of training that goes into you understanding how to use this software and changing the way your company works. So, um, and also switching costs. They don't realize, as you mentioned, all the time it takes from your team, all the
Yes.
effort, all the distraction. Those costs are
Yes.
not effectively captured on top of the hard costs of the software, the overlap, the things that didn't work right, that it takes longer than you expected, and the
Yeah.
money that you're spending on the change, you won't get back for 10 years.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. All right. So what's the next part of the technology survey that you want to talk about?
Oh man, so much to talk about.
You
We
want to do
only have
AI?
we only have limited time. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk AI a little bit. So part of our study this cycle, right? Like everyone, we're hearing all the focus on AI, and so we have a little bit around just the limited adoption that's occurred around AI, right? Like how many folks are actually using it for note taking and the like. And we've got some data in there. I mean, the answer is it's not a terribly high percentage that are using actively, but that's just the reality for any new tech in the space. Like we're only seeing about 5 to 15% of advisors using AI for just some of the common functions like note taking, helping with client data gathering, trying to review documents, and
That's
the
surprising. I would have guessed higher just because how fast AI has taken over everything else.
yeah. I mean, there's lots. I mean, there's tons of dabbling, right? Like
Mm,
I went to ChatGPT once and I asked it a question, and like it gave me something useful. But part of what we were trying to get to is like again I've seen some studies out there that like the survey question is, have you ever in your lifetime logged into ChatGPT and used it? And 90% of people say yes because it's been out there enough that they've tried it. And then the survey publishes results. 90% of advisors are using AI. I'm like,
mhm.
they're
No,
not
they're not.
using it. Like they have a chat GPT and they logged in
Mm,
once. I mean,
right.
I'm being a little facetious about the question, but not that like not that far off from some of them. I mean, there's a difference between I've logged in and maybe I've tried it out or I've dabbled a little, and like I really use this in core business activities on an ongoing basis. And we find just the core adoption is not huge yet, and no great surprise, mostly aligns to just how tech savvy and AI optimist folks are in the first place. So we also just did kind of a baseline of you know, how enthusiastic are advisors about using AI in their business. And we basically replicated the standard adoption curve where there's a moderate segment that are enthusiasts, there's a moderate segment that are huge laggards and are only going to be dragged in kicking and streaming, and then the largest segment is a mainstream group in the middle that will get there when they get there. So
Crossing the chasm.
yeah, I mean, just we're standard. Turns out we're standard technology diffusion curve, like everything
Mhm.
else. It's doing its normal thing. The more interesting part, though, was when we drilled into what do they actually want to use it for, and what do they actually want to do with it. And so this is where we get some, I think, very, very interesting results. So one of the first notable pieces is when we went and asked, like, where do you want to use it? Gathering data from clients and prepping the plan, reviewing documents, help me build new offerings, help me like manage my portfolios better, help me with client service. Uh, the lowest ranking, we don't use it for this and we have no interest in ever using it for this, was client service.
Mhm.
And I find it fascinating because if there's one place I'm hearing a lot of tech conversations, AI conversations these days, it's like chatbots that can expedite client service so that you don't even need as much operations and admin staff because your clients can just use the bot.
Mhm.
Number one, by like an off the charts margin, number one thing that advisors are least interested in using AI for is client service. In fact, what we found overall is basically everything we want to use AI for is not client facing.
Mhm.
It's middle office functions like plan preparation and reviewing documents, or it's entirely back office driven. The only front office aspects are maybe around trying to personalize client experiences a little bit more, but no one's even entirely clear what that means in practice. So first, just to reflect, like there is a lot, I think just there's a lot of trepidation. Advisors, right or wrong, take pride in like we are a higher touch personal service offering. I mean, let's face it, if the things we do for our clients can be entirely automated with tech, we will all be out of business because
Mhm.
a Silicon Valley firm will just actually make a tech thing to do that.
Yes.
And then we're all gone, right?
Mhm.
The people who hire us by and large are more delegation oriented. It's always been a core client demographic for advisors or delegators. And like delegators don't want to talk to a bot to do a thing. They want to talk to a human and just say briefly, here's my thing, you figure it out. So from a service end, just I guess like the cautionary note out there, beware of how much you try to push AI related tools out in front of clients. That is not what advisors are interested in. We want to make our days a little more expedient, but we're not necessarily trying to change or replace the interface we have with clients.
Yep. But I think AI has a possibility of changing that because I think people are feeling differently about AI compared to robo advisors. All the hype on robo, it's going to destroy the industry. There's no chance of doing that, right? Because it just wasn't capable. But AI, because it feels more human like when you're talking to it, and people are moving very quickly to falling in love with AI and telling AI all their secrets and AI therapists. And so I think
Well,
that the possibility that it could take significant market
well,
share.
yes, but not from the people that generally hire advisors.
Mhm.
I mean, if you want to overgeneralize a little, I mean, this is Forrester has very good research on this. Like you can kind of put consumers on a spectrum. On the one end are the do-it-yourselfers, and on the other end are the delegators.
Mhm.
Do-it-yourselfers will buy 47 versions of tech, and someone will make $1 billion financial advisor for consumers. And it will not take a single client from a financial advisor because it will be bought by do-it-yourselfers that want to buy tech to help them do it themselves. The folks that delegate aren't interested in finding their own tech online to do it because they'll have the same problem that the robo advisors had. There's a AI financial advisor. Now there's 3, now there's 5, now there's 10. Great. Would you like to vet all 10 and figure out which one is good? No, I have no freaking idea. I'm just going to ask my brother who he uses for a financial advisor. He'll refer me to Michael, and I'm going to work with Michael because I don't want to figure this stuff out. Because that's what
Mhm.
delegators do.
Mhm.
And I find just there's a challenge, that the entrepreneurs and tech folks tend to be very self-driven, high agency people by their own nature. Right? It's why we go like make firms and make businesses and do things. Uh, which means for most of us, we are actually not a good we're not a good representation of the typical clients that advisors work with
Mhm.
because we tend to do things ourselves and are not necessarily heavy delegators. And advisors largely work with people that are heavier delegators and don't want to do as much themselves. Either they don't have the time, or they don't have the capacity, or they're just not interested. So it can be both truths can be true. There will be a wonderfully successful $1 billion AI financial advisor, and human financial advisors will lose no market share to it. And frankly, that's the
Mhm.
same thing that happened with robos. Right? Like there are a few robos that man survive and get something, but as it turned out, it's really hard to scale because at the moment there's 3, 5, 10 of them, people don't know which one to pick, and then they throw their hands up in the air and go back to a human financial advisor if that's what they want in the first place. And ironically, if you're do-it-yourselfer, you don't like paying a lot of money to tech to something you can do it yourself for. So
Mhm.
the problem for robo advisors was delegators didn't want to go through the process of doing it themselves with tech, and do-it-yourselfers would rather just use Vanguard's free tech for 3 basis points of
Mhm.
expense ratio rather than pay a robo advisor, and they
Mhm.
ended out with a Venn diagram with no overlap.
Yep.
And I do worry or fear that a lot of AI driven advice offerings run the same kind of risk. And when you look at the humans that tend to hire, the humans that tend to hire an advisor want a person, right? Even in my interactions, like if I don't call my bank very often. In fact, it's pretty much my life goal to never have to call them. But I can tell you if I do, the only thing that will make me leave them is when they put me through a freaking phone tree or an AI driven voice chat thing. Like, I'm a pretty competent person about using the website in the first place. At
Mhm.
the point I call, it's because I have a real problem and I need a real human being.
Mhm.
And so I don't want to call you very often, but if I do, you better give me a competent human being
This
with enough agency and authority to actually solve my
I'm going
problem.
to do a I'm going to do an impersonation of Michael Kitces on the phone with the bank interactive voice response system. Representative, representative, representative.
That is literally true and a completely accurate representation. Yes. Yes. As a frequent United flyer, there's a lot of welcome to United, agent, agent,
Yes.
agent, agent. And I'll just keep saying agent until I get an agent. Right. Because look, I know how to use the website. I know how to use the app. I mean, I appreciate, like, I don't want to call United to book my flight,
Mm,
for the love of all that's holy. Like, just give me a
right.
decent app and let me buy my own plane tickets.
Mm,
But when I've actually got a travel problem and I'm trying to adjust my itinerary and I've got a weird layover issue and I'm trying to do something that the system won't actually automate
mm.
for me and I need a human being, like, if I pick up the phone, I just want an agent.
Yep, I
And an
agree.
agent who's actually got enough authority to solve my problem, not a person who then repeats to me what the app would have said, and then I have to go through three transfers to get to someone who can actually solve my problem. And
Yes.
and so in that domain, like, yes, there's pure tasky stuff that, I mean, frankly, isn't an AI thing. It's just a good application process
Hmm.
experience thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't need AI to solve the what's the status of my transfer. I just need like a client portal that has a screen that shows me what the status of my transfer
Mm,
is.
yeah.
But at the point that I call, I really want to be able to talk to someone. And I think just from the advisor end, we pride ourselves on that level of service. So just, I mean, this was a question that we put to advisors, like, what do you want to spend money on AI?
Mm.
Like, what do you want to buy? And the dead last answer that was drastically worse than anything else was client service. Like,
And what was the
it's
number
just
one
not
answer?
what we want to buy. Reviewing client documents. Reviewing client documents, and the super close number two was data gathering in general, just like make it easier for me to gather all the data. Now, the other thing that I would highlight in the context of AI, and it kind of doubles into this theme, is we also ask advisors, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want the AI to do for you? And so we sort of put it into three buckets. Bucket number one is, I just want the AI to automate this for me. Like, just make staff labor go away and make it automatically happen with technology. Number two was, I want you to expedite this for me. You don't have to automate it. I'll stay in the loop in the technology speak. You don't have to automate it, but like, please just make this significantly more efficient, so it doesn't take me as much time, but I'm still involved. And the third was, help me initiate, like, help me to get started on this thing. Right? We see that a lot with like marketing versions of AI in particular. It's good at solving the blank slate problem. And so here again, what we found when we put it forth, barely a quarter of advisors want AI to automate anything.
Only a quarter of advisors, say it again, only a quarter of advisors want
Advisors,
AI to automate anything.
anything. Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Uh, Almost everybody wants it just to expedite, and a very small percentages want it to help them ideate and initiate. Right. This is what we're finding. Like, brainstorming buddy is a cool AI use case, but it's
Mhm.
more isolated. AI to help me come up with a marketing plan, amazing. It's really, like, it's quite good at it
Mhm.
if you don't do marketing plans. But most of us make one marketing plan a year. So it's like,
Yes.
cool.
Mhm.
I'll have a great AI experience for like a couple of hours during an annual retreat day,
Mhm.
and then I'm not going to pull it back out again to do that for another 364
Mhm.
days.
Right.
So, like, great functions, and some have a little bit more recurring nature. Help me come up with blog posts for my clients, help me come up with
Mhm.
headlines for my newsletter. But those tend to actually be relatively small use cases. Like, just they're not high volume tasks, and they're not highly time consuming tasks over like the
Mhm.
number of hours you spend in a year. So the overwhelming majority, I mean, literally, like, the majority of basically every category was, advisors want the AI to expedite in a non-automated way, right?
Mhm.
Make it fast. It's like, don't automate it for me. Just save me 50 to
Right.
75% of the time it
Would
takes.
you think that if looking back at our correlation versus causation conversation, could this be that what's the average age of the advisors in your survey? Maybe older advisors don't want it, but younger advisors do.
Interesting. We'd have to go back and look. I mean, we could actually cross-reference it against age. That's very doable. But I can tell you in general what we've seen in our tech over the years is that age is actually a terrible predictor of advisor willingness to change. So the
Mhm.
sort of like the archetype, older advisors don't like new tech, we find doesn't really hold very well. What does hold is Firms that are larger and have scaled up are a little bit more tech change averse because it's really painful to change. And so
And those
uh,
advisors tend to be older. They scaled their
age of
firms.
advisor is correlated to firm size and firm depth. So
Mm,
there is like an indirect correlation. But when we try to decompartmentalize it a little bit, it looks less a function of, 55-year-old advisors are not as willing to adopt new tech as 35-year-old advisors. It's advisors that have 7 team members that have been using their current tech for 10 years
mm,
are much less willing to change than a new advisor who's only got 17 clients and
mm.
could change on a dime because there's not that much data to move.
Oh, we only have 2 minutes left. So what's your view of AI in the advisor? Where do you see it going?
So
Do you see big changes coming down the pike, or you see this another technology that we're going to deal with like everything else?
So I will say by and large I see it more in the vein of just another technology that will use from the pure advisor end. So I guess there's like a few things that I would highlight. Number one is advisors advisors are largely not looking for automation, they're looking for expediting. And to me, only about a quarter of advisors were interested in automation, and that's despite the fact that like every AI tool for the past 3 years has said the entire world is going to be automated and we're all going to be unemployed. So even when the dominant narrative is automation, which has to tilt the responses in favor of automation, right? Some people say automate it for me because the world has said apparently AI is going to automate everything. Even when the dominant narrative for almost 3 years has been AI is going to automate anything, still barely a quarter of advisors are even looking to it to automate, which means I think if we had a less biased view, we would be even less interested in automation. So it's not a bad thing, right? Like, hey, if I got a thing that takes me an hour and you can cut it down to 5 to 10 to 15 minutes, it's freaking amazing. Like, I love that. I'll pay you a ton of money for that if you do it on an ongoing basis. So, like, this isn't a bad thing or like AI will be less valuable if we can't just make it automate things. But we're looking for it to expedite. And the reason why I highlight that is, I mean, certainly like if you're a technologist, that means you have to be designing for human in the loop from day one. And not only have to be designing for human in the loop, you have to be designing a great human in the loop experience because the advisor is now going to be an in the loop regular user engaging with the software. And I do find a lot of tools have not necessarily built for that. One of the few categories I think that has and has done it pretty well by and large are the AI note takers because they figure out really quickly advisors don't actually want to automate the notes and the follow-up email to clients. They want to draft it and prep it and be able to look at it. And so the company's created pretty good interfaces to do that. But just recognizing, like, don't try to build a great experience with the humans in the loop. Don't strive to get the human out of the loop. It's a different mindset shift, but that's where we find the overwhelming advisor interest. I think the other thing that I would note just in the context of I mean, I think at the end of the day, AI is going to get used a lot more behind the scenes by technologists than it will
Mhm.
by the advisors themselves, right? I want great software where I give it a document and it tells me the information. Now, whether you do that with OCR, machine learning, AI, outsourced to the Philippines in a way that's otherwise secure, 10,000 monkeys that just throw darts until they get the right answer and then you certify it, I don't care. Like, I don't care how you do it and whether you do it with AI or something else. I just want to buy a thing where I give you the document and you give me the stuff back and it's right and it's
Mhm.
accurate and it's correct because otherwise I'm getting sued. And I don't need you to automate it because I still got to look at it and learn the information myself. But if you can take my tax return review or my estate document review or my pay stub review or whatever it is from 30 minutes or an hour down to 5 to 15 minutes, you're saving me a material amount of time. I do multiple plans in a year. This is hugely valuable. I'll pay you well for it. But I do find right now there's a lot of AI that's probably going to happen more behind the scenes than front facing for advisors, and a lot of marketing that's focusing then too much on the AI and not much on the just tell me what you do that's useful. And then sometimes the answer is, well, that's not actually more useful than what I had. Congratulations, you made it with AI, but like I could already do that and you're not helping me.
Mhm.
So, just focusing on what's the real problem you're solving with a human in the loop that solves the problem better than it currently does and gives me a great experience. That's what advisors are interested in buying. And so I think AI note takers have happened to do that pretty well as a case in point example. But when I start looking at other categories now that are starting to introduce AI. Just be careful to not make it or promote it as more front facing than it needs to be. Like, I don't care that you have an AI feature. I care that the feature solves one of my problems.
Valuable wisdom as always from Michael Kitces. When will the tech survey be out?
Tech survey goes out to our members in July. We'll do a spotlight for tech companies and executives, investors, all the people that make technology decisions in August. And then it will go out in general release in what are we putting out at Future Proof at the Future Proof Festival
September
conference. So
7th
yep,
through the
yep.
10th.
So we'll be doing a joint release with the Future Proof folks to put it out to the general public. So folks who are listening here, kitces.com/technology will get you to the information.
And you should go to Future Proof. Michael might be wearing his custom blue shorts.
Whoa, that's a bold promise. I don't know if I can deliver on that. I'll definitely have a full-length blue shirt on the beach. So failing
Yes.
anything else, you can like point and laugh a little because I have to stay on brand.
That's right. Michael, thank you so much for being here. This is great. We could have gone on and on, but we got to stop. We got to cut it off here.
Oh, all good. All good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Craig.
All right. Hey, it's Craig again. Here are my top 3 takeaways. Hope you liked that episode. You made it to the end. Congratulations. And Michael shared some really great stuff from the upcoming Kitces Tech Survey. I just pulled out 3 things that I found interesting. Number 1, AdvisorTech market share changes slowly, meaning vendors are really only gaining a couple of percentage points, 3 to 5 over a 2-year period. So this is due to inertia in the AdvisorTech space, where advisors only change one piece of tech per year on average. So if there's other surveys out there that are not the Kitces survey that show wild swings, 10 or 20% in a year, it's not real. Usually it's because the data is bad, or they're just getting whatever the vendors are spewing to them, whichever vendors got the most clients that responded that year. So I find the Kitces survey much more reliable year to year. Number 2, the Kitces research found that advisors are most interested in using AI to expedite tasks like document review rather than fully automating their processes. Only about a quarter of advisors want AI to automate things for them. So that's a big, I think that might change. That's where we are now. And we talk a lot about agentic AI and how AI is taking over processes, but clearly there's some inertia there with advisors. And finally, the research at Kitces found the firms using tech primarily to improve advice quality are twice as productive as firms that are using tech just for cost time savings. So this highlights the strategic importance of using tech to enhance the advisor experience, not just drive efficiency. So that's pretty interesting stuff. So there you go. You've reached the end of another episode of the Wealth Tech Today podcast, of the 300th episode of the Wealth Tech Today podcast. Thanks for listening. Before you go, head to our website, EzraGroup.com, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and sign up for our newsletter. Once a month, you receive an email chock full of wealth management goodness, news, information, and updates. You will not be disappointed. Thanks again for listening, and talk to you all again next time.